Is this it? Is this the return of the Tuesday News Day? Because again, we have a dip into some information about the Immortal Empires map this time around. And we finally get to see what that map looks like, where all the locations are on the map, and the new sea lanes. So in this video today, we're going to go through those two subjects I just mentioned and talk about the increased settlement and NPC faction count that is going to be comprised with the Immortal Empires beta that is coming here in, I think they said August. So that is the focus of the video here today. I'm just going to be showing off the map. We're going to talk about some things there, some conjecture, looking at the map itself and kind of talking about some fun things. Also, it's kind of worth mentioning in this blog post, they said that all the land masses for the map are not completed yet, in the sense that there's some places you cannot traverse, and they mentioned Ind Khuresh. Now, I don't think that means that we're getting Ind Khuresh explicitly, but it's kind of an interesting thing to kind of bring up as kind of in the voice of, you can't go there yet. So that's a very exciting little piece of information, but it's kind of like, that's like standard fare for all of us who cover, and all of us who are interested in Total War Warhammer. It's like, oh, but they said this means it's coming. So again, take it with a grain of salt. It's just an exciting little bit of a sentence I'm looking at and extrapolating way too much out of, probably. So let's go ahead and dive into this here today. If that's all the information though you wanted and just wanted to kind of know briefly what's going on in the Immortal Empires realm, we're just talking about the map reveal and where those locations are on the map, as well as the sea lane. So feel free to head on out if that's all you wanted to know. But before you do, please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe. I cannot tell you how much that helps out myself or any content creator that you watch regularly. But let's get started here on the Immortal Empires map. And I have this blog ahead of time, so it's just a picture that we are looking at. We're going to be moving through this here. And again, it's pretty much just saying, rehashing the same sentences of, this is the culmination of the trilogy, right? This is the journey through everything. And in this, we're going to be talking about the brand new map. Now, you can't see much in this picture. That's okay. I've got a much higher res picture we're going to be looking at. I've zoomed in like 1,000,000% to this blog post so you can actually see things, but again, don't worry about it. We're going to go through this in a lot more detail, but as you can see, we have a lot of the world kind of truncated down in a weird squish, which I think works enough for what we're talking about with the Immortal/Mortal Empires, right? With Mortal Empires, we kind of ended right here. Maybe more like right over here. Maybe just kind of like split down that area over here and less of the northern portion of the map. We have this whole eastern area, which is quite sexy. And in addition, we have Ind Khuresh, the eastern colonies. Elethis would be out over here, so no look or mention of Elethis. Actually, maybe that's Nippon I'm thinking of, and this is Elethis. I think yeah, this is Elethis, and that is Nippon over here. But we do have the southern Chaos Wastes, which is pretty fun down here. Northern Chaos Wastes over here, and some fun stuff to be had when we look at the actual map. But this is the Immortal Battlefield, as it is called, the biggest map of any Total War game to date. And here's some of the crazy stats that are kind of falling into this map. So the settlements, starting factions, and legendary lords of Mortal Empires, remember that's Warhammer 1 and 2's combined map, is 401 settlements, 347 starting factions, and 74 legendary lords. Now, in the Immortal Empires, the map to come that combines all three games, and these numbers are, again, it says these figures may change as we receive beta feedback, 554 settlements. That had 153 more settlements. That's wild shit. In addition to looking at just shy, 193 additional starting factions, NPC factions, right? So obviously you have the now 86 legendary lord factions, subtract that number from 540, and those are just NPC factions that are going to be roaming around the map, causing some mayhem. So that is wild. Obviously it makes sense. Right? You're adding not just like another chunk of land like Alustria or a Nagaroth, you're adding a whole portion of the subcontinent, right? This whole chunk of land is massive. There's so many settlements being added into this, and it looks like there's a lot of settlement being broken up across the World's Edge Mountains, Cathay, that's not Cathay, what's it called? Kislev, Norska, and the northern Chaos Waste and southern Chaos Waste. So a lot has been kind of layered into this that is more so even than our typical standard fare locations that we had in Mortal Empires, which is very exciting. And Moving into this, we have the introduction or the discussion of the sea lanes. But here's this kind of a fun little bit. While we won't drive into the intricacies of start positions quite yet, that's in the next blog, you can also expect a variety of nifty changes which make the experience fresher, more challenging, and even more reverent to the Warhammer lore. You may find that a certain Kraken Lord pillaging Grand Cathay, or a stealthy skink taking the fight right to Chaos's front door. So some very fun little ditties there that we'll be able to take a look at here when we jump into the map. And now introducing the sea lanes. So I assume these sea lanes are all color coded. You know, this goes to this, and it even shows a little dotted line of locations that it goes to. This guy going all the way over here, or maybe over here. I wonder if you can decide, or over here. And then you got this over to here. So again, we'll look at a higher res of this map too. But the sea lanes are awesome, and I think that we need those sea lanes are needed. But I think maybe there should be another one that maybe brings you a little bit over into this region or into the Sea of Claws that allows you to kind of hit up into the center portions of the map. Because reading through this blog post, I do have a little bit of a problem with the way the sea lanes work. So let's read this. With the scale of the Immortal Empires map in mind, sea lanes have been introduced to add flexibility to your globe-trotting adventures. Interacting with them will provide the option to travel from east of the map to the west and vice versa, allowing for more exotic confrontations to be had, new allegiances to be formed, and unique role-playing opportunities when once distant factions meet for the first time. Any lord or hero will be able to move into the sea lane markers, allowing them to set sail and reach their destination after being at sea for a few turns. So I guess I'm just kind of wondering what that turn length looks like. Is it variable, right? Like going from this location to this location, is that, maybe it's this one to this one, that kind of looks like the same color. Yeah, these two look the same. Yeah, I'm dumb. So these two to these two, these two to these two. Is it the same for all of them? Or if you're like, this is like kind of navigating the globe, right? Going back to this location, is that longer? And I guess I have a problem with that taking a certain amount of turns, because if I'm going from here to here, that looks like it might take like, I don't know, 3 turns, 2 turns, just going on its own. And if using the sea lane takes 3 turns, what's the point? So I want to see how those sea lanes break themselves out across the turns, what those turned actual distances is. That's probably not 3 turns. I'm up my own ass right now, but still, my point remains is that if taking the sea lanes, like if I want to go from Grand Cathay, if I start like over here, right? This is like the western portion of Grand Cathay where both our legendary lords would be. We can see that over here. Maybe here's the Gunpowder Road. Here's the Warpstone Desert. So I would expect our legendary lords to be around this area, right? So looking at that, and if I use this sea lane to then go over to here, and I want to, really my goal is I want to go attack Ulthuan. I could traverse land and then jump across, sure. But I think that having another sea lane that takes you into this kind of, like not a hinterland, but this central portion of the map would be pretty crucial. Or one that brings you up to the Sea of Claws would be very crucial. Because this, I think, allows you a chance to get from the easternmost edge of the map to the western or the centralmost portion of the map at a more feasible time scale. Even here, if you're starting down in the Southlands, there's no way to get from the Southlands to the northern portion of the map without just straight up running. So I think another sea lane in one of these locations to bring you up north, I think would be pretty crucial. We get that from here to here, that's still not that great. I think we need one that's kind of more centralized to bring you into these two locations, vice versa. Even conversely, right? If I'm Ulthuan wanting to go down over to this location, sure, I can just take the boat, but I think a sea lane in there would be a pretty good approach here. And again, wanting to find out more about those sea lanes. So borders of the known world, and this is that little bit I talked about with Ind Khuresh. Though included within the map, not all landmasses and oceans will be traversable at the launch of Immortal Empires, such as Khuresh and Ind. So again, this is me extrapolating off of a sentence I'm taking out of context and trying to match a conjecture or a piece of, what is it called when you use, speculation. Does this mean that we're going to get Ind Khuresh? That's really exciting, and I hope that that's the case, but that's a really obtuse kind of thing to point out when they've kind of said in the past, like, oh, Ind Khuresh aren't coming, like, don't plan on it, or whatever it is. So a very interesting kind of thing to put in a sentence right there when you could have just said something like, I don't know, the Eastern colonies, because the Eastern colonies don't seem to be here. And that's where we get the Tower of the Sun, the Tower of Stars, these elven colonies. So interesting thing to put there. Again, I'm pulling nothing out of something here. But our focus for the Total Warhammer trilogy has always been on the races of the 8th edition, with some exceptions such as Grand Cathay, Norska, and Kislev. Chaos Dwarfs are not in the 8th edition, buddy. And the areas where these races reside remain our immediate design priority. Okay, not fair. There's the Tamarcon, I guess, so you could make that bit of connection, but I mean dedicated 8th edition book. It's also worth remembering that the Immortal Empires campaign map isn't a simple stitch and fit job. The Old World, Eye of the Vortex, and Realms of Chaos campaign maps are designed to be unique, standalone experiences, simply put, they're different shapes and sizes that don't fit together like a jigsaw puzzle. This is a sandbox mode, first and foremost, so mechanics such as the Eye of Vortex and Realm of Chaos invasion will not be present, as to be expected. And this little end of the blog telling us that the next blog post is going to be about starting positions. So now that we've kind of gone over what the blog post is, let's start off and look at the actual map itself and kind of talk a little bit about that. So here we have the map in a much higher resolution, and we can have some fun here. Just to kind of, we'll start off over here at the Eastern Colonies, because I looked that up right before jumping into this section, because I know I got a lot of that wrong when I was talking about it in the previous section. So again, we have your Citadel of Dusk over here. Then we get your Fortress of Dawn over in this region, Dawn's Landing. And then we get the Tower of Sun and the Tower of Stars. I was right there. And Tor Elisor is right here. This is not Tor Elithis. I'm on crack cocaine. That would be over in this region. And then Napone would be up here to the right of these locations. This is the Gates of Caliph. I completely got that mixed up. So I just wanted to go over that. So this whole region doesn't seem to have any marker, right? We don't have clear-cut locations of settlements and provinces. It just says Eastern Colonies. Tor Elisor would be right about there. Tower of the Sun, Tower of Stars. But we get, obviously, a clear distinction with the Southern Wastes, which is really nice. The Icefire Plains, the Southern Wastes, the Abyssal Glacier, and the Demonium Hills. And nothing over here for these locations. But clearly, obviously, we are able to go there via the sea, the ocean, the big, wide ocean. Looking over here into Cathay, we can see the Gunpowder Road, we can see the Great Bastion, the Western, Central, and Eastern gates. So that has been changed, right? They're not the, was it Dragon, Turtle, and Tiger, or whatever the other gates they're called. Lands of Stone and Steel, Imperial Road, Forest of the Moon, Warpstone Desert. So it looks like we would be seeing both of our legendary lords starting in these areas right here for Cathay, leaving a lot of land open for the expansion of legendary lords for Grand Cathay, obviously, right? Like, we've talked so much about the Monkey King, which comes up in flavor text a lot in the lore for Grand Cathay in Warhammer 3. We've talked to Rich about the kind of relationship between the Monkey King and Grand Cathay, so a lot of really great places for him to possibly start in these locations. And we know that there are multiple children of the Dragon Emperor that control the south, the east, the north, and the west of the land, as well as one centrally in the the actual palace. So a lot of really cool things. It's also nice to see this on a normal kind of scale, right? It wasn't the weird, what was it, Chaos campaign map that was kind of askew, polar map or whatever it's called. So this is nice to kind of just see in the conventional standard look of what it's been like looking at a book throughout the many years. We have the Northern Chaos Wastes here looking nice and good with Norska as well. And we get this nice little region here for the Southern Oblast, River Uskoy, the Cursed City, Ostland, the Western Oblast, Troll Country. So you can see Kislev is kind of smashed up over in this region with the Northern World's Edge Mountains starting right here. But the Zorn Uzkul and the Skull Road, which would be kind of the beginning of the eastern provinces, the eastern, what are they called? Colonies for Kislev would be on the other side over here in this region. So this would be the start of the Plain of Zar, Gashkadrak, Zorn Uzkul, this whole region over here in the beginning of the Mountains of Morn is where we would probably see Chaos Dwarfs in the future. The Blasted Waste maybe where we would probably start to see a different starting location for Boris Ursus. I'm very curious to see what they do with him. If he stays in the same location on the Immortal Empires map, And if you do want to see me do a full speculation on placing everyone on this map, I'm all about it. Go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. I know a lot of people are saying like, I don't really want to see speculation. I want to see the concrete stuff right now. And this map is very similar to what we got with the leaked map. I think it's actually even better, to be totally honest with you. It's nice to see kind of stuff like the Barrier Isles, this one super massive province, Land of the Dead, the Death Pass, the Blasted Waste, to just kind of get a good idea of how these provinces shake themselves out on the map is really, really nice. And for the most part, everything else is roughly the same. I think there's probably some breakups of the way the provinces look, looking at stuff like Bretonia, and we look at Astalia and Tilia, Western Eastern Border Princes, Western Badlands. I think a lot of these have different settlements now. Like I think this right here, all this section right here is a little bit different now. I can't really remember much of the Immortal Empires map in that region because I don't think I've started there as much as I probably should have. But that is the Immortal Empires map. Let's take a real quick look at the sea lanes to close our video out. Here we are with the sea lanes, and now I can actually see the damn colors, so we can see a really good distinction of what connects what, right? Like boom to boom. We get this little guy here, the green, going over to the green. Where the hell's green? The green. The red, going over to the red. So we get this nice distinction, purple to purple. So I would like to see a blue to blue, like a blue sea lane from here to like the Sea of Claws. Just something that allows me to traverse this location, but this gives you a pretty good idea now exactly where you're going to be going from the green and red over to the green and red over here. Like I think traversing from the western to the eastern side of the map, I think is going to be great for all the many factions that start over here and the many factions that start over here. And then there's just the two probably factions. Again, we don't really know who starts over here or over here in this region in general. I think it's going to be interesting too if we get other characters that start over here that wouldn't typically, right? Like having the Kraken Lord start somewhere over here near Inn, or somewhere over here by Cathay, somewhere on this coast. That I think would add a little bit more variety because we don't have so many Grand Cathayan legendary lords to fill up this region. I think it's going to be kind of a quiet and dead region for the first year or two until we get more DLC that fills up those locations. I think so much of this world on the west side of the map is going to be bumping, and I think it's going to be time to spread some stuff out into this central region. I would imagine we're going to see a lot of different starting locations for a lot of legendary lords pushed into the Darklands. Like I would love to see Tretch back to his home over here in the Darklands, so on and so forth. So seeing how that kind of shakes out and alleviates a lot of the legendary lord pressure over here, right? You get like 8 legendary lords that start over here, right? Typically on the Immortal Empires map, you have like 50 that start in the Lustria Bowl. So getting these things kind of spread out across the map, I think is going to be nicer that we now have this big, large starting area with all of these sea lanes that allow you to skip around. But that concludes our video here for today, guys, going over the new Immortal Empires, the new sea lanes. Go ahead and let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you agree? Do you think that there needs to be some more sea lanes that connect maybe even this gulf over into this location that allows you to really kind of truly navigate the central portions of the map a little bit better, or jump from the north to the south portion of the map a little bit better? Let me know what you think. I personally think, like I've said, it's just an east to west move and less of a north to south, and I'd like to see that kind of alleviated just a little bit. And if you want to see a speculation video of me going through and just placing legendary lords on the map, all 86 of them, I guess you could say, go ahead and let me know. I'm more than happy to do that. I think it would be a very fun experience. But as always, guys, thank you so much for letting me know, for watching here today. Let me restart that. Thank you so much for watching here today. As always, have a good one and take care.